Hold on. Good day, everyone. Whether you're watching this live, which we're actually recording this at 6:01 p.m. Central Standard Time on May 29, 2024, or whether you're catching a recording of this as it's live on LinkedIn, it's also on Facebook, so it'll be up on Facebook for a while. And you can always go to our YouTube channel, although we need to get a couple of days before you'll actually be able to watch this on our YouTube channel. But by all means, please do take the time to watch and listen as our honored guest. And I'm not even going to try to say her full name, because I'll butcher it, because I know her affectionately as Raj. Raj is a registered nurse. She wears many hats, right? But when I asked her if she would do hey Jackie, when I asked her if she would do a video with me for women, to close out this month, she said, yes, Sandra. But you know what's so funny? Is that, and Jacqueline Cox is saying, hi, Raj. It's so funny that normally she's asking me, and when I ask her, she always says yes. She always says yes. I'll do it, right? But she always says, okay, I'm going to talk about gut health, because that's her thing, is gut health. But she found a way. This is how we as women get down. She found a way to take that gut health and actually to put it with something that, if you haven't went through menopause yet, and you're like, how do I, like, where do I go? What do I do? How does it feel? Right? It feels different for all of us, but there's some tips and there's some tricks that you can do that she's going to tell us about tonight. So before I fully introduce Raj, what I am going to say is, Raj, from the bottom of my heart, as well as from the bottom of Chom's Medi Helps, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for once again stepping up and saying, yes, I'll do it, Sandra, because I have information that I want to share. And being that Chom's Medi Helps Foundation is a medical and a healthcare resource company, business, we love when we have people that step up and say, yes, of course, because there's something that I want to tell. There's some information, some resources that I want to give. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Raj. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then she has a special treat for everyone that's listening and looking, at whatever time you look or listen to. She has a special treat just for you so that you can actually take it with you wherever you go. And as I always say, if you'd like to have a copy of this video, please reach out and let me know. Say, hey, Sandra, I want that video because I want to share it, or I want some information off of it. Whatever it may be, just please reach out and say, can I have a copy so that I can get you that copy? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our honored guest, let her introduce herself, as well as let her go ahead and begin speaking on the subject that she's speaking on tonight, which is menopause. Raj, is all yours.
Thank you, Sandra, very, very much for having me over. And thank you to Health Foundation to be having to come over onto your platform to speak about this, about on this Women's Health Month, about menopause. I am Rajitha Bommakanti, registered nurse, faith-based holistic coach, national board certified health and wellness coach, and culinary coach. I have been practicing nursing for over 30 years, and last 6 to 7 years I have been in health and wellness coaching along with me doing nursing. So that's a little bit about me. And without wasting much time, let's get started. Sandra, we are going to try to pull these slides up so that you can have a visual as I'm talking. And hopefully, when the slides come up, Sandra and I both will disappear so that you can see the full slide view. That way, you can get the most of it. Don't see the slides up, Sandra.
Raj, I think from your end, you're going to have to add it to the stage. So go ahead. You should be able to add it.
Um, I am not able to.
Okay, hold on. It's not coming up. Let's see.
Just technical issues here. Because I should be able to click and that should go up, right?
Right. Hold on for a second. For some reason, it's not working.
Because just a little bit ago we were able to bring it up.
Yeah, it's not working. It's not letting me do this.
Okay. All right. We
Um,
will try. We will try to remove it and put it back again. Um, so, okay, just give us a couple minutes. Let me try this one more time and see if I can do this. How about now? Can you all see the screen?
okay, there it goes.
I can see it, right?
Right, I can see it, so I know they can actually see it. Hold on. Yes, they could.
They can see it, right?
Right. Yes, they could see it.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your patience as we were managing this technical issue. So, today I want to talk to y'all about embracing change as you are navigating through menopause and how you can be really confident through this process. Sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Menopause hits us very hard. Overnight, your body does not feel like the one you have known and loved for a long time anymore. It's so different. And this happens very fast, and you're battling new symptoms. And that may be something like gaining weight, and unable to um, go through the endurance and strength training, taking longer to bounce back after workouts. This is not you. Then this started happening. The things that have always kept you fit and healthy seem to have stopped working, and you don't know what's going on, right? And that was me. That's the reason I am here presenting to you about this. I have gone through this, and while I was going through this menopause symptoms, I have gone to several providers, in network, out of network, paying out of pocket, you know, out of state. No telehealth, nothing was helping. Everybody looks at everything and say, oh, all your labs are fine, everything is fine, all you need to do is cut calories and exercise more. And then I also got a prescription for antidepressants. Now, I know my body. I have been, whatever I preach, I practice. I have been following a healthy way of living for a very long time. And I'm like, something is not right. That's when I dug into the research, looked at several different research papers, read many books. And then that's when I came to a conclusion. I am in postmenopausal state. And I started making the lifestyle changes that was appropriate for me, for my lifestyle. So,
Raj, I have a question, and I normally don't do this, but something is really bothering me.
sure.
So you went to the doctor because you was experiencing symptoms.
Uh-huh.
and versus them running tests or asking you questions. I mean, looking at your age and asking you questions and trying to pinpoint it, they just ordered for you or told you that you needed some pills for depression.
Yeah, and said I need to lose weight if I, because when I was talking about gaining weight and I have so, abdominal fat, looks like as though I'm pregnant, they're like, okay, you just need to do exercise more, lose weights, because they said all your labs are perfect. There's nothing wrong with you.
And so they
And
didn't even bother to rule out anything else. They just, I mean, you hear these stories all the time about women that go to the doctor and they just brush them off. And they didn't even bother to stop to ask you like questions that could have actually triggered them to think, okay, well, let's explain this to her because maybe she don't know about it. They just wanted you to go on pills for depression.
yeah,
Okay.
it actually, to be totally honest, it did not even trigger to them that this could be menopause. Because most of the providers only way they connect is hot flashes. They think that's the only thing. And you know and they're very hesitant to go any further. And these were all female physicians
Well, I
too.
mean, hello, Miss Carolyn. How are you today? Carolyn is saying hello, and I mean that's just mind-boggling. I mean, and that's mind-boggling to me because these are women. So, I mean, were they older women? Were they younger women?
They were in their mid ages. They could be in perimenopause, postmenopause stages. They were not too young.
Wow. And so, I
That's
mean, these
that's
are
what I'm
women,
saying.
and it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, and you hear so often, and I hear so often. Once again, this is a sidetrack because I hate to do this, but I had to because it would bother me. Once again, you hear stories and you read stories from women who say that their mother or their adults in their life never explained to them what menopause is, right? They've heard it. They sometimes some of them haven't even heard it. We've got to get real. I mean, we as women, we've got to start explaining to other women, bringing it up. Hey, have you heard of this? Especially when you look at the person's age, right? Or social
Yeah,
economic factor, be it whatever it is, may. You have to start discussing these issues. If you don't discuss them, you'll go around like you thought something was wrong with you. You
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
realize that it was just a natural part of life because none of your medical providers even bothered to rule it out. They just told you you needed to lose weight. You're the second person that I've had on this show. And I know the first person is on vacation right now, but you're the second person that I've had on this show that has said that a woman that has said that the doctor told them that they just needed to lose weight. It was all in their mind. They was making it up. I mean, this is like, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then on top of that, I'm already in healthcare field, right?
Right.
And just think about the frustration others go through and the agony that they have to go through. None of them
Right.
have to go through this. It's you know that's so important for us to be our own advocates. That's why I'm here, because I want to help other female women to be looking and feeling better by using this evidence-based lifestyle interventions in making behavior changes one step at a time in improving your health and well-being.
Right.
So by the end of this presentation, you guys will be empowered with knowledge and life skills to make effective behavioral changes that address the underlying root cause of your symptom management. And I'm going to do this because I am here because I am very focused on helping women thrive so that they can live a vibrant life. We all have to be our own advocates. So, if you have been going to several providers, fitness trainers, and coaches looking for information about menopause, you won't find it. There's a lot of silence and still a lot of stigma around menopause. If you recall, even before you hit menopause, There have been periods where you felt draggy on certain days of the month. It was not because of your fitness level, but due to the changes in your physiology. Just because your periods are irregular and slowing down does not mean you have to. As women, we all go through. How about, when we first went through puberty? Think about those times. What happens? You have all this sweaty, moodiness, brain fog, body composition changes, problem sleeping. Okay, that was fine. And what is that next stage women go through? Pregnancy. Pregnancy also, I recall being pregnant, being short with this big belly, hot all the time. You think you're just hot, but that's another form of hot flashes. And some of them have postpartum depression after pregnancy. So these are the changes, pregnancy is embraced, it's a celebration time. And in some cultures, puberty is also a celebration time, like in Indian culture. Um, but how about during perimenopause? We go through hot flashes, mood swings, sleep disturbances. We are just on the other end of puberty, where these hormones start to wind down. But we associate this with downfall. How is this fair? How we view aging culturally and socially influences how we view it personally. And those combined views have an impact on how we actually experience menopause. So, first, we have to shift how we think, how we view menopause. 2018 study published in the Alexandria Journal of Medicine found a significant and direct relationship between a woman's attitude towards menopause and her body image and the risk of depression. So, reject the negative connotation about menopause. It is something every woman goes through. It's just a phase in life. That's what we go through. It's a transition we can lean into and push through as we enter a different phase of life that is full of meaning and wisdom. With the right training, nutrition, lifestyle strategies, and the power of the mind, you can thrive in this stage wherever you are. When you understand what is going on in your body, you will be able to take concrete action to minimize the most disruptive symptoms that will come with the hormonal fluctuations of menopause years so that you can feel and perform at your best. This is a time to shine and talk to others about this. Perimenopause is the transition during which you go through from a regular cycle of 25 to 40 days, lasting about 3 to 7 days, to a very inconsistent cycle. You miss periods or have heavy periods sometimes. Perimenopause can start as early as 36, but usually around 45. African American women tend to start the transition earlier than people of other races. And for them, it lasts for about 10 years compared to the other races. And with also what happens with the woman's hormonal changes, why does this happen? The sex hormones that have orchestrated the rhythms of your cycle since you hit puberty are now constantly changing. The primary drivers of these hormones are estrogen and progesterone. During your premenopausal years, your ovaries secrete estrogen to thicken the lining of the uterus as an egg matures inside. And then estrogen, as you can see, reaches its peak. That's the top visual, y'all can focus on phases of women's cycle. That's where it peaks, and then that thickening lining happens. The estrogen peaks during the second week of your fourth week cycle. So your ovaries here secrete progesterone after the egg follicle bursts open and ejects the egg during ovulation, which peaks between weeks 3 and 4. Together, estrogen and progesterone are the primary drivers for getting your body achieve and maintain that pregnancy. If you don't get pregnant, that's when you shut the lining. During the years leading up to menopause, the number of eggs in your ovaries decline and not releasing eggs like clockwise every single month. The disruption starts during perimenopause. Your body is still ramping up estrogen to plump up the uterus lining, but in a month when mature egg isn't released, then there is no progesterone. So you have an imbalance of too much estrogen and then too little progesterone. The next month might be normal, and the following month it might not be. This is the perimenopause cycle. So, imbalance can lead to estrogen dominance, which can trigger a host of symptoms, including headaches, mood swings, and some more. The hormonal fluctuations can last up to 10 years, but they're generally felt the most. The peak of the symptoms are 4 to 5 years before your period completely stops for good. And then the testing they call, a lot of them say they will test. Really, testing is not recommended at all. That's just a waste of time and money, because you go to do the blood test, especially in this perimenopausal state. You go to do the blood test, let's say tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and find out that your estrogen levels are high and progesterone is low. And then you go back 2 days later and get the blood drawn. At that time, everything might be fine because there's so much fluctuation going on. So the way to diagnose and treat is with the symptoms. That's how, not with the blood test or any scanning. Menopause is the day our periods end. And it is just that one specific point in lifetime that you're in menopause. And after that, that's it's after 1 year of completely you stop your periods, that one day you're in menopause. The average age of menopause is 51. And after that one day, the rest of your life, you are in postmenopause. Contrary to the popular belief that you can completely stop the production of estrogen after menopause, women actually make 3 types of estrogen, because we only hear estrogen, estrogen, right? Women actually make 3 types of estrogen. That is, estrone is E1, and estradiol is E2, and estrol is E3. Estradiol is the main female hormone that you make over the course of your reproductive life. This form of estrogen that flattens completely during menopause. The lack of estradiol is the main driver of many issues, such as increase of heart disease, and many other symptoms. So throughout the presentation, sometimes if I say estradiol or estrogen, it's primarily being referred to estradiol. That is the E2, so that you know that. But that's when people refer estrogen, that's what they're referring to. What are those other two? Your body also releases estrol E3. That's only released during pregnancy, and the rest of the time it's not detected at all. And then the first one, E1 estrone, it's actually after menopause. It's the weak form of estrogen that's produced from the fat deposits that we do have. And you may be thinking, wait, I'm not able to lose fat and I'm not able to be lean up quickly as I used to. All my life, it was so quick for me. Get on this some diet and I lose weight. And when it comes to activity and nutrition, that was working so very well. You were able to do the workouts, rebound very well. You cut down calories, whatever diet you got on, you were able to do. What's happening now? You can't do any of that, you know, because your body is changing and you don't know what's going on. You start having these night sweats. And then you put on this belly fat like you're pregnant, like I was, lose lean mass, and do not feel any stronger. You feel weak, low energy. The closer you get to the actual cessation of menstrual period, the worst you start feeling towards that perimenopause before you completely stop your period. All this is happening because your hormone ratios are totally changing. It's like zigzag all over the place. And your hormones are those messengers which are communicating with nearly every cell in your body, telling them what to do. When those signals weaken, the result can be metabolic chaos, like the body composition shifting, poor insulin sensitivity, hot flashes, mood swings, disrupted sleep, poor energy levels. During this stage, when you step in and take action to mitigate the effects, then you can really have a profound effect. After menopause, your body is primarily making that E1 that I talked about, estrone, which is far weaker form of hormone than estradiol, which is E2. So at this point, your ovaries are producing very little of this estradiol estrogen. Most of the estrogen that you are creating is the estrone, that's the E1, which is generated from the fat tissue. So excess estrone produced by the fat tissue can cause some women to experience hot flashes and night sweats. Some of them, have to face that for about 20 years or more. Research shows that having a greater percentage of body fat increases your chances of having vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes, sweating, and heart palpitations. If you have excess fat, especially visceral fat, losing weight can help. And we will talk about how we are going to do that. Estrogen receptors, alpha and beta, are a group of proteins found inside each cell. These receptors are activated by hormone estrogen, that's the estradiol, the E2. Think of estrogen receptors like a lock, and then the estrogen hormone E2 like a key. So you need a lock and a key. So here we have the lock during postmenopausal phase, but the key is missing. That's the problem. So estrogen receptor beta has shown to regulate key component of immune response known as the inflammasome, and also is involved in regulation of neural mitochondrial function. Estrogen and progesterone work together to control inflammation. Depending on the kind of estrogen, if it is estradiol or estrone, can be anti-inflammatory or pro-inflammatory. Estradiol is anti-inflammatory. Estrone is pro-inflammatory. Progesterone is anti-inflammatory. Your hormones work in a concert to keep the inflammation at check all time. Higher unchecked estrone with declining estradiol and progesterone can cause inflammation. Mitochondria are powerhouses in the cells that turn fuel into energy. Whenever you use oxygen to burn fat and produce energy, you use the free radicals that damage healthy cells. That's when estradiol comes in and helps the mitochondria to sweep out all those free radicals. And now, without its help, what's happening? You have all these free radicals floating around in your body. Training in nutritional support will help with elimination of these free radicals. Estradiol helps increase calcium absorption and regulates bone turnover and density. Estradiol is critical for maintaining bone density and the strength of your bones. After 50 in women, when estradiol goes down and their rate of osteoarthritis increases rapidly, because every musculoskeletal tissue has estrogen, alpha and beta receptors, which are little baskets in which estrogen, the estradiol, sits and flows down. So when the baskets are empty, you do not have any estrogen in them, and the cartilage matrix weakens and softens, and cartilage deteriorates much faster. For tendons and ligaments without estrogen, it becomes more brittle. Bone has to have a balance of building and breaking down. And if we are only building, our skeleton gets very heavy. Then we cannot move. If we are in a breakdown state, then it's so weak that we won't hold up the skeleton. So with the loss of estrogen, the balance is off and we break down more than we build our bones. Bones have electrical circuit, and jumping action actually stimulates the bone pathways to allow minerals to be laid down in the bone. So it's helpful to strengthen the bones, work on balance by balancing, on one foot, standing on one foot, try to brush your teeth every day. That's a practice of balance, right? And then box jumping. Jumping helps. Running does not. Running is one directional, jumping is multi-directional. Skipping, these are jumping, things like that are recommended 3 times a week for at least 10 minutes each time. And if y'all can, I know I'm not able to see y'all, I'm doing the presentation and I'm going through so that you can get the most of the information and understand the background. But any of these symptoms, if y'all can relate to that, if you can put in the chat, that's like, okay, you're connecting to that. That's an aha moment for you. So the next one we're going to talk about is the muscle.
Raj, before you go forward into the muscles, so now as far as the jumping, is that for everyone? Is that pre, post, or peri where you're actually doing the jumping?
Yep, primarily, this is during the changes, so peri and post menopause. And even for others too, even before that, jumping was recommended because when you are running, there's much more strain on your knees versus when you're jumping. When you're jumping, you're putting the whole foot down. So it's more of a balance, like even you can hold the wall and jump. For me, I used to hold the wall by the window and jump. Now I also have this little trampoline. So it's by the window. So I'm looking outside at the trees and all my backyard and jumping.
So I have another question in reference to that because you brought up some very good exercises, and I know, currently I'm not going to the gym as much as I should be going to the gym, but I know that there are women that will, if even if they're not watching this tonight, will watch this video and they'll come across the exercises that you're recommending that women do that are during the menopausal stage. And do you know if there's like a book or have you considered doing an ebook that has like exercises for that period of your life so that when we go to the gym, we're not doing exercises that are not, because nobody at the gym is going to say, well, you know what, you really shouldn't do that because that's not what they're there for unless you have a personal trainer. That's not what they're there for. So, do you have like an ebook, or is there a book that have of exercises for people that are for not people, but for women that are going through menopause and that have already went through menopause?
I don't have an ebook yet. My first goal was to get the message out for people to understand and learn from that. So thank you for that. I will work on that. And I have gone through like many research papers, because a lot of the evidence that out there, the studies that have been done is on men, not so much on women. And actually, there is this lady, Stacy Sims. She is a PhD, and she is exercise physiologist and nutritionist. So she has really, really good strategies that she shares. So that is somebody that people can follow, her. And quite a bit of this, the information, collective information, is from various different sources that I got, but that I'm presenting here today.
Okay, thank you. And you're right. I mean, a lot of the studies that are done are not done on women, which is why we have women's history, women's health, whatever. We need to just continue to like say it over and over and over again so that all women pick up on the importance of their health, whether, it's self care through menopause, whether it's whatever through menopause. They need that additional assistance. And since the doctors are not talking about it, and the rate that they should. I mean, they're not even mentioning it. They're thinking, oh, you're depressed or you're fat or whatever, and they're not actually even addressing menopause. It will be, to my opinion, it will be really helpful to have that extra, you know, book or booklet or journal that we can go to and say, hey, you know what, these are some exercises that are good for me. So when we do go to the gym, we're going and we're getting the benefit of going to the gym.
That is true. That is true. Because same thing, even in the gym, they don't know. You could have, because my trainer is there, but her focus is all about cutting calories, and which is totally wrong focus. It's not specific to menopause, but I know what my focus is, even though she is showing. So I kind of do it what fits me. So as we are going through, I will tell you about more specific about the exercises too. So that's what I do. What's more beneficial for me at this stage, even though certain things, but I go to trainer, because that way she's looking at my posture and all that, and the group coaching classes too. Sometimes it helps motivate each other. And I see all these other women that don't know, talking about all these things. Sometimes people have certain beliefs. Some people are ready to listen and open up, some are not. So I kind of sense the pulse, and depending on that, I share my information if they are open to listening. So So here about the muscle, right? So what's happening during this time with all this hormones that are affecting us? So we are also losing the muscle mass, and these muscles, they need. They are constantly working together. This estrogen is very, very helpful for them, in like a symphony, working that entire, physical body, emotional body, and mental body. It's all of that is put together. And here we have this estradiol E2 that's playing a role in the whole host of metabolic functions, right? Everywhere, each part you're seeing, it's all about estradiol. And so as this estradiol is declining, progesterone is also declining, but not at the same rate. So estradiol helps drive the development of that deep muscle. Without it, your muscle mass declines. So now, as we are declining, so estradiol helps drive the development of that lean muscle in normal state before we get to this stage. Without it, your body isn't as good as building that muscle. So this estradiol, what does it do? It helps to contract the muscle. Without it, the stimulus of the muscle contraction is gone. Estradiol is the one that's responsible to stimulate the muscle cell to grow and develop. It's also responsible. The way the contraction works is two proteins called actin and myosin. They come together to cause that muscle contraction. So this estradiol, estrogen, is the one that's responsible for how strong this myosin attaches to this actin for that contraction to happen. So when estrogen levels vary, the muscle is not stimulated and the contraction is off balance, and women feel that they're not strong, they feel very weak. So during the shifts and the changes of the hormone, your body composition is also changing at the same time, and people are trying to exercise more, eat less, trying all kinds of fat diets. It's not going to work because it's not about the metabolism, not about strength of contraction of your muscle, but it's about these hormones that are the root cause that's affecting the basic cell of the muscle fiber. How your body is responding to glucose, how insulin is responding. So we really have to take a pause and look for that external stressors, primarily through exercise, that is going to cause the body to respond in a way that these hormones used to allow the body to respond before, when we had that estrogen. So, and also whenever it comes to exercise, what is that standard recommendation we hear? 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. It's all over the place, plastered, right? The kind of stress that does not invoke the change in us for that muscle contraction. So when we do that 150 minutes of moderate, intensity activity, we are not getting that stimulus to contract that muscle anymore. Estradiol helps regulate nitric oxide. That works to expand your blood vessels for better blood flow. With loss of estradiol, blood vessels are less compliant. This can cause your blood pressure to creep up, which in turn can cause serious health problems like heart attack, stroke, and atrial fibrillation. Some women also experience dizziness when they stand up too quickly. They are also an increased risk for lipid disorder, where they have a decrease in HDL, increase in triglycerides, and LDL. Studies have shown that statin use, especially high doses in postmenopausal women, may increase the risk for diabetes. So once the doctor sees your cholesterol is going up, what do? Prescribe statins. And insulin resistance. Estradiol promotes insulin sensitivity. It regulates GLUT4 glucose transporter, which pulls glucose into your cells without insulin. So as estradiol diminishes, you may be more prone to insulin resistance, resulting in fat storage as your body pulls that blood sugar into the fat cells to get it out of your blood circulation. Did y'all know oral
Raj,
health?
before you go forward, I actually have two questions in reference to something that you just said, and I just
Yeah.
need clarification on it. So you said the 150 minutes that they tell women to do every a moderate exercise every day.
Mhm.
Does that? I mean, should we be doing that? I mean, does it make a difference? Like, is
It
that just something they just threw out there?
it It does not really make a difference. So when it comes to that exercise, because actually later down the road we have that exercise slide, I'm going to go over that. But so what happens is, when most of the time we are doing cardio as women, we shy away from weights. We think we get bulky. You know what I'm saying? Majority. So we do this cardio for this long period of time at this high intensity for like 45 minutes to an hour. So when you're doing that slowly, what's happening is your cortisol level is going up and staying up at that. So now, when little later down the slides, when I show you how about exercise, when you're doing strength training, you're giving a burst of that cortisol and bringing it back down. So we'll be covering that. So it's about how you manage. It's a different way and actually shorter period of time, but we get the most, you know, bang for that buck that we
Okay,
do select.
okay. I'll wait until you get to the exercise part.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Did you know that, Sandra? Have you ever thought, this was so surprising for me when I did my research about the oral health in
You know, I
postmenopause?
tell people this all the time when it comes to oral health.
Uh
Your
huh.
dentist is your gateway to your health problems. A lot of people don't like going to the dentist. However, there are plenty of times when your dentist will actually capture something that's going on with you health related before your own doctor will. And so, and that may be the push behind why now with oral health on certain insurances, depending on your diagnosis, they consider it medical. But your oral health is just as important as your medical health.
Yeah, it is. It is. Research found that postmenopausal women, um, alterations of the oral activity in relation to the hormone alterations, right? They have reduced saliva production. So that causes increased tooth decay, gum disease, jawbone density, tooth loss, and receding gum line. Hot flashes. This is the most popular, people kind of connect, right? So what's happening in this phase? Estradiol helps maintain the core body temperature, like blood flow to the skin and sweating. All of this is happening with the estradiol. So when estradiol is declined, we lose that control. Research shows that loss of estrogen, the reduced density of that serotonin receptors, and decreased serotonin activity is what is contributing to the hot flashes and night sweats. Hot flashes are more neurotransmitter related, brain and brain health. People don't connect. Hot flashes is more related to the brain. It's the hypothalamus is very sensitive to temperature and appetite. So when we do not produce as much serotonin and norepinephrine, that's when, with the receding estrogen, serotonin is not being produced as much, and the countering norepinephrine hanging there without its partner, because those two, serotonin and norepinephrine, are partners. Now you have your hypothalamus that's perceiving that there's a threat, and it's saying, oh my God, something is going to happen. I need to speed myself up. So that speeding process instigates that hot flashes. And once the hot flash heat builds up inside our body, then hypothalamus is saying, oh, I'm too hot. I need to cool down. And then it's the cool down effect. That's when you have that shivering response. That's that broken thermostat. You're yanking from one end to the other, and people think hot flashes are benign, but they're not. It happens in the brain with decline in estrogen. So they need to be really being treated for that. Women who have severe hot flashes and last for a long period of time, have cardiovascular disease, depression, and anxiety. African American women have the most symptoms of hot flashes, and they last for about 10 years for them. So understand that they are not benign and get the treatment. And also, once they are done, don't think it's done, hot flashes stopped, and I'm fine. What's happening is inside the brain, the remodeling is continuously happening even after the hot flashes. You stop feeling that hot flashes, the heat and the cool down effect. Evidence shows that estrogen decline during menopausal transition drives systemic inflammation, the pro inflammatory cytokines, and increased availability of the inflammasome protein in central nervous system and the pro-inflammatory environment, because we don't have that estradiol. So here, more of inflammation is going on, and it's more susceptible for women's risk for brain damage from ischemia in Alzheimer's disease. Estradiol increases serotonin and the density activity of serotonin receptors in the brain. And as it declines, the estrogen receptors are untapped and the brain is waiting, and they have nothing there. So there is no estradiol there to activate that. That can lead to the mood swings, irritability, restlessness, and anger. So estradiol is the master regulator of women's brain. Women's brain is very sensitive to estradiol changes, and it is a neuroprotective hormone. It's a master conductor. When estradiol is receding, estrone takes over, but it is very weak, so that tune there is totally off. And remember, estrone is more pro-inflammatory too. So Dr. Lisa Mosconi investigated how menopause affects women's cognition using brain images, PET scan. How it affects women's brains. She tracked women's changes in women and learned that menopause changes the structure of the brain. It changes metabolic activity in the brain, the energy levels, the connectivity, the blood flow, and the biochemistry of the brain as well. It's like a renovation project with so many changes happening at the same time, and also the brain is rewiring to prepare the woman for those non-productive stages of life. These are all associated symptoms with brain fog and dementia. So looking at this image, the image here, it's showing energy level of that brain, the way simple glucose is taken up and used as energy in the brain. So this image, this is from Dr. Lisa Mosconi, 43-year-old woman. Before menopause, she was very active, healthy brain. So the left before menopause brain that you see here, it's a very active brain. And if you can look at those colors, red, yellow, those are the brightest colors and have the high energy. And the green shade is the low energy. The blue inside the brain is the fluid, which is totally normal. And the other image after menopause, that's 8 years later after transition to menopause. And then that image, if you notice, it's more dull. There's a lot more green and yellow. The redness is gone. Red turned into yellow and yellow turned into green as she went through menopause. So quantitatively, it's about 30% reduction in brain energy levels. That's huge. How can you manage these things? By stress management. Estrogen also helps control cortisol, the stress hormone. When estrogen declines, cortisol levels rise. Easily, you get triggered with little things. Some of the brain management, strategies that you can do is meditation, breath work, connecting with nature, grounding, yoga, relaxing activities, listening to music. Um, it's very, very important because this is the stage of life where we are peak with our professional life, and you are in that sandwich generation, trying to take care of your parents, trying to take care of your adult children, and then this hits and stress is all over the place. So it's very, very important to manage that stress. And also, research on menopause shows that female sex hormones and the gut microbiome suggest that menopause, during menopause, or when those estradiol are low, that's what is associated with reduced gut microbiome diversity. So decline in estradiol and progesterone may lead to permeability of the gut barrier. So that's that leaky gut the last time we talked about. It, can you improve the gut health? Yes, you can, by making some changes, including prebiotics, probiotics, and also the gut health also gets disrupted because of that increased stress level. Per Dr. Stacy Sims, connection of parasympathetic and sympathetic to your gut, it's huge. If we are under a lot of stress with high cortisol level, the feedback of the gut changes the diversity of the gut bacteria. If we are looking at our body composition, we need to activate the parasympathetic, rest and digest, and eat a wide variety of fruits, vegetables to feed the gut. In postmenopausal, we are in that elevated stress level, and changes in eating habits will increase large Firmicutes phylum bacteria, which is more associated with obesity and less lean mass. Whereas Bacteroidetes bacteria is associated with more lean mass and lower visceral fat, and better hormone and neurosignaling to the parasympathetic. So, with menopause, the lowering of estrogen, more stress, lowering energy levels, causing the gut to take a big hit. This is also one of the big things not connected at all. So, to get into the parasympathetic, meditate, do the breath work, wiggle toning, eat a variety of fruits, vegetables, to increase your bacteroidetes bacteria. If we are on this elevated stress level and eating processed food, not taking time for self, eating too close to bedtime, then the Firmicutes phylum rises. So we want to really downgrade the Firmicute phylum for better body composition, that fat deposits that we have, for better mental health, better health outcomes. Then we can lean towards the adaptations that we want. That way, we can take over, control of that fat gain, the loss of that muscle mass, and the loss of the bone mineral density, mood issues, changes in dopamine and serotonin. Keeping that vagina happy. This is so embarrassing, but we all face that. Estrogen is that stimulating tissue that grows, which helps thicken the thickness of the vaginal lining. It also keeps that vagina moist. So, with the decline in that estradiol, the vaginal walls are thinner and they become more drier. That's when sex really starts to hurt. When you're walking, cycling, constant irritation, it's like very, very uncomfortable and very embarrassing. So, in order to invoke a response to build lean mass, maintain and build our bones, invoke a response to serotonin and norepinephrine, which ties to hot flashes or vasomotor symptoms. So, what do we need to do? We need to invoke a stress to change our gut microbiome because we see a significant decrease in the diversity, especially in the late menopausal state. This is directly attributed to our body composition shifts. How are we going to empower ourselves to move forward to thrive in this stage of our life? It is through specific modalities of exercise. Women need to look at lifting heavy to create central nervous system response. This is not for a short period of time, but for the rest of our lives from here on forward. Lifting heavy is relative to what you are capable of. If you have never used weights, never lifted, then don't go to the gym tomorrow and lift heavy. First, learn to move, how to squat, how to balance, stand on single leg, step off a box, jump, and work with a trainer. You need to build that foundation before you go out and lift heavy. So once you have built that foundation, you know how you're moving well and you can balance, then add a load to the lifting weights. So whatever is heavy for you, start with that. You can start with the lower weights. You don't want to do it. And initially, if it was never done, it's highly, at least for a few sessions, recommended to have a trainer who watches your posture because you don't want to hurt doing this. Start with 3 reps of lifting heavy. Excuse me, lifting heavy. Lift it and then put it down, and just pause for 30 seconds, let that heart rate go down, and then lift it. So 3 reps, about 5 cycles. So by that fifth cycle comes around, you're too tired, you're fatigued, you can't do anymore, you're going to drop. So this way you're telling that nerves to recruit the muscle fibers quickly to be able to lift the load, because remember, the estradiol is not there to help with that contraction. So we are igniting our nerves to do that. So your central nervous system is coordinating to be able to lift and coordinate, instead of that estrogen telling the myosin and actin to come together to contract. We are using the nerve response to build muscle and strength without the hormone influence. Women, you don't have to worry about being bulky, because we don't, unless you're in the gym entire day every day eating tons and tons. You're not going to make that. We are just making our muscles strong. That's all we are trying to do. More muscle, we will have improved insulin sensitivity, better gut health, shifting of our body composition. We will look better and we will be stronger. And you don't have to go to the gym. If you don't want to, you can just start at home with simple dumbbells, kettlebells. Use a backpack with weights. Or, better yet, I have this vested weight. I use it whenever I'm walking. Even when you're home, sometimes you can wear the vest, weighted vest, walk around, do some chores. So, you are putting that weight. Another thing you can do is like sprint or hit, but no more than 30 minutes, including the warm up and the cool down. So what you're doing is, I get on the treadmill and I slowly bump myself up my heart rate, just go real slow at 2 miles an hour, 2.2. And then after, once I have my blood flow going, I'm moving around, that's when I pick up, go really fast for about 2 minutes, to anywhere 1 to 4 minutes, whatever you can stand. And that's when your heart rate is going up. It's going up to around like 80% of your max. and then you come back down, recovery at 50% or less, slowing that speed down. So you're doing that about 2 to 3 times in that 30 minutes, up and down, warm up and cool down. So that's another way you're spiking that cortisol up, bringing it down, up and down. Instead, you're not keeping it consistently. So what's happens is in that 45 minutes, when you do that long treadmill or any of that, 45 minutes or so, you are getting exerted at that state and your heart rate is being elevated consistently, then you are in that moderate intensity, that 150 minutes of that, where it increases your cortisol level. So some cortisol spike when we are doing, up and down really quick, that's good, but not that steady high cortisol level. Because in this perimenopause, menopause state, you are in sympathetic driven state where your cortisol is already elevated. And this is the time for you to bring that cortisol to that baseline. And that way, when you do that, the stimulus, when your cortisol is high, you keep that fat on. So keep that residual inflammation down. It will also help with the bloating, unable to sleep, can't relax state, where you're tired all the time. When your cortisol is up there, that's how you can't sleep. You're exhausted, tired. So you want to do this blurps up and down. So by exercising this way, you will have better rebound response even after the exercise, where you'll be able to reduce your cortisol level and increase the growth hormone, testosterone, and decrease the abdominal fat. Better body composition, better strength, lean muscle increase, and you'll be in parasympathetic with better sleep. Does that make sense, Sandra?
It most certainly does. And it actually goes into what Carolyn was saying. Is she said, my one symptom was insomnia. If
Mm,
only, and I can't speak for her, but as I look at what she put here, and as I heard you just talking about insomnia and what causes, how, what can possibly be at fault for the insomnia that we feel when we go through menopause. Those of us that we went through menopause, was like, wow, I wish I'd have known that then, and so, but it's good to actually hear it now and know it now that there was something that we could do. There's
yeah,
something that others can do that have not yet went through that stage.
yeah, yeah. The sooner they start with all these, the better off they will be by the time they come to these stages. So I would advise women to start earlier if they're not in these stages. So again, eating is another thing which we don't eat much, right? We tend to cut calories, and that's we have been doing that most of our lives, like especially during menopause when the body composition is shifting. We are like, oh, let me cut down more calories. We are looking at calories. And then you go into the fat diets, you can't lose weight, but you actually need more energy to maintain this healthy hormonal function. And when you have too little energy intake to meet the needs, for a long period of time, your hormones don't function properly. Your thyroid function gets disrupted, your bone formation, gets disrupted just after 4 days of low energy availability. So, too long you go with the low energy of this extreme cutting calories, it gets into extreme fatigue and thyroid dysfunction. It's really the quality what you're eating, not the quantity. That's what you need to look at. How do you fuel up during menopause? Eating mostly foods that are plant sourced, that are close to as natural as possible. You can eat the broccoli by itself, you can steam the broccoli, and you can deep fry the broccoli. You can call all of that is plant, right? So we need to be sensible. Are we eating deep fried broccoli versus a raw or a steamed? So it's our choice. Vegetables, fruits, beans, legumes, and whole grains. These have fiber that's good for your gut microbiome. They lower the inflammation in your body and have higher levels of antioxidants and lower the risk of cancer and diabetes. And, most of the time, plant foods, people say that there's not enough protein. There is plenty of protein in plants too. But wherever there's a gap, eat natural as possible. When there's a gap, that's when you use supplements. So, timing is very crucial. Research shows that especially postmenopausal women do not meet their daily protein needs. This is not about total number of calories you eat in a day, but when you eat them, that's what it matters. Eating at the right time will help you reestablish the connection between energy in and energy out. That gets you into the happy space where your mood improves and you recover much faster and your performance improves and you have lots of energy available for you to do your activities of daily living. So eating meals, according to the sun, the circadian rhythm, your lunch should be the uh, heaviest meal and your dinner should be the lightest meal. Consuming 15 grams of protein before your workout, before you go to weight training, and then 30 grams after workouts, 30 grams with every meal, and 10 to 15 with snacks. Yes, it is a lot, but we do need to consume like that in order to see the shifts in your body. We are not trained that way. We are not thought. We don't think that way, but that research does back up with that. And then hydration is a key to keep your body fluid levels high enough to continue functioning properly. Sweat works by pulling the water from your blood through the skin where it can evaporate and cool you down. The more you sweat, the more blood plasma volume drops. With less water in your blood, the blood is more viscous. So your heart has to work much harder. Your heart rate goes up and your power goes down. Your core body temperature rises. Then that's when you will be fatigued and reduced performance. So listen to your body. And also during this stage, some of them you cannot really feel that, rely on the thirst sensors. So you just need to keep hydrating yourself. And per Dr. Stacy Sims, 1 to 3% carbohydrate solution to about 100 to 120 milligrams of sodium per liter is what she recommends instead of those sports drinks and all of that. If you are going for an intense workout to the gym an hour before that, then consume 500 ml of water with just a dash of table salt and 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, because the sodium is absorbed into the cells by, you know, hitching a ride on glucose. That's the reason it's these two combinations. Yes, the sports drinks and all of that are there, but they are not totally optimized to what we want. But this is an easy way to make, especially now during summertime when you are going out. If you're going out for long hikes, for more than an hour, if you take this drink with you, that will help keep you hydrated throughout. Plain water is with meals where your meals already have sodium in it. If you add sodium water only when you don't have sodium in your meals. If you're doing plain resistance training, then water is adequate for you to consume. If you are in that heated environment for a long period of time, then you need that little sodium and that maple syrup to help you keep you hydrated so you're not drained by the end of the day when you're done with that. Sleep is another huge thing. Again, this lot of us, don't pay attention to it. It's, eh, very critical throughout all the stages of your life. Sleeping and waking up at the same time, following a sleep routine. After you wake up in the morning, going out, exposing yourself to the sun rays at least about 10 minutes or so before 10 o'clock. And at nighttime, following a sleep routine, eating meals about 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Don't eat until you're going to bed. And also consuming drinks 2 hours before, no alcohol. Um, 3 hours before. People think alcohol is a sleep aid. It's not. Caffeine by 2 o'clock is the last caffeine drink. Ideally, one drink in the morning would do, because caffeine has a longer half life. And relaxing and toning the body, turning off your gadgets a couple hours before bedtime. And bedroom, using it for sleeping only, keeping that bedroom cool, nice and cool, keeping it comfortable, keeping it pitch dark. And when you have to go to the bathroom, just use the little night light on. Don't turn the big light on. And at nighttime too, when it's time to turn the lights on, turning the yellow light on instead of the white fluorescent light on. These are some of the sleep routines you can practice over time to improve that quality of sleep. Because when you're sleeping, that's when your the toxins in the brain get drained, when you have that deep restorative sleep. It's not the number of hours, it's the quality of sleep that you do get. Some of the supplements, is like turmeric. It's anti-inflammatory. Creatine helps build the muscle. It's not one of those muscle builder thing. It just helps a little boost of that. Vitamin D, no matter how much we go out, we are still lacking vitamin D. B12 is for those that are strictly plant-based. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen that helps with managing your cortisol level. Magnesium glycinate is another one that helps with sleep. And of course, I did not add in here, but hormone therapy. It's You have to make it, you know it's up to each individual what's appropriate for them, what's not appropriate. That's a discussion with the physician. And if you go to a regular physician like mine, PCP, who was very hesitant, she did not want to give it, and I had to go there saying that, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and I want, this is the dosage I want. I had to really be my own advocate, really push to get that prescription, because they don't see a need for that. So again, that's where you are going to do what's best for you. It's different for every single person, so whatever works for you, you need to make that decision. Just want to share this quote: between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So we all have that space. We need to widen that space and make that right choice for us. What is best for us? How do we thrive during these stages? You're not withering away. You want to shine during this time. For me, to remember for my clients, I give this a short form: pause, plan predominant meals. You need to anchor in place. Don't go all over the place with that stress. And uplift those muscles, sound sleep, ease, and thrive during this menopause stage. And here, if you have any questions, and I will stop sharing. Miss Sandra, you can take over.
I
And
want
I
to
don't
tell
know.
you,
I'm
I am
sorry I
not.
went over.
That's okay. I am not seeing any comments, but I want to thank you so very, very much. One, for giving us such a very, very detailed and very, very detailed and poignant message. Right. Once again, for those young ladies who are coming of age as far as the menopause, they're getting ready to hit menopause, they're hitting it, they don't know what it is. I mean, this information that you put forward is excellent, excellent, excellent information for us to have. You know, and so many women, you know, I was looking at a quote yesterday that regarded, you know, they look at menopause and they, you know, they're afraid of it. When actually we should all embrace menopause, because just like when we were young and we started our menstrual cycle and we had to go through all those years to get our menstrual cycle, but once we hit that one day of menopause, after that we got freedom. I mean, we're free again, right? There's so much things that we can do, right? But we have to do it in moderation. And if we have it early enough, you know, Dr. Joelle Ballard has a book out that talks about menopause, and she talks about how it is, because so many of us don't know what menopause is. We hear it and we get frightened by it, right? Those of us who have lived past the menopause stage, I was just telling my husband, maybe last week, I'm like, I think I'm having another hot flash, but I just had them. I can't have them no more. But I mean, it came to come to find out it was actually something else medically that was causing it. But it was just that I'm like, I can't do this again, because I had menopause at the same time I had COVID. And so my menopause, my peri-post, whatever, it was like it was a nightmare, right? One that you don't want to live through. Whereas Carolyn is saying my one symptom was insomnia. But once again, that goes back to what I just said. Had if we knew this when, you know, before we went through it, you know, it would have helped us so much. And so now that the younger women that are going to go through menopause have it, you know, and when you get your book out, you know, your ebook with the exercises and just breaking it down, that's, even if you don't write an ebook, if you write a book, right, and put it where every woman could, you know, send it to the OBGYN offices that when they see women, so that they could say, here, you need to take this with you. You know, here, you need to take this with you, instead of prescribing medication for depression, medication for this, medication for that. I mean, once you get on it, you can't get off of it. So I thank you so much, Raj, very, very much, on behalf of myself as well as the Charms Medi Helps Foundation. We look forward to continue collaboration with you and with your work. And at the end of the day, I want to wish everyone, no matter what time you're watching this video, I want to wish everyone to have a safe and productive rest of their day or rest of their evening. And once again, if you need this video, please outreach me. I will be more than happy to make sure that you get a copy of this video. Thank you so much, and have the rest of a beautiful day.
Thank you, Sandra.